Thank you, Marco. Great event. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's one of the best events in Europe. I really like this event. So yeah, I won't talk about the market that much because I knew Ragnar is going to do that for me, which is great. We're in the same market, so you know all the stats. What I'll talk about is how we changed over the last 5 years. So we are on a mission to help app developers with their ad monetization. We think that ad monetization on mobile is deeply broken, and there is a new next-gen set of tools needed to drive sustainable, reliable, and profitable ad monetization. A few stats about the company. We are now 250 people, 200 in Berlin, 40 people in the US, in San Francisco, which is our biggest market. We serve 265 million unique users with direct publisher integrations, all using our SDK to render and traffic all the ad monetization. And we just did a trade sale for $190 million to RTS Media, which just closed a month ago. We have changed a lot. Yeah, and I'll try to illustrate that with a few numbers. So we started off as a vertical ad network on web, desktop. We then became a specialized mobile supply-side platform, focusing on freemium apps and help them to drive ad monetization. And the next evolution will be a full-stack supply-side platform for mobile apps. So I'll shortly talk about our pivots, because I think that's something which is often not very, very deeply talked about, and which is very frightening for organizations. So our first shift was from web to mobile. And what basically happened is, if you look at the ecosystem, the browser was an interesting ecosystem for when we started games to be monetized and grew up with a freemium model. Then Facebook came along and created an app ecosystem, and both got disrupted by iOS and Android. When we started on mobile, the biggest game, the biggest app, the top grossing one app, made $1 million per month. Today, 150 million. That is 3 years. So really rapid growth. Ragnar already explained the whole thing. So when you look at advertising, it's always where do you spend your time and how do you make sure that you reach these users. So mobile really took off in 2011, and in 2013, it overtook desktop in terms of time spent. Yeah, you already talked about this. So what happened to us, right? What you can see here is our impression. I think that's the first time we show this graph, from day one, when we launched the company first time, to today. And you see the blue is desktop, yellow is mobile. And you know, when we started on mobile, desktop was still growing really fast. And what happened was Facebook basically didn't allow us to work on their platform anymore, on their app ecosystem. So you have 100 people working for you, and suddenly 50% of the market is basically down. What do you do? Okay, we started on mobile, and you know, we launched basically a vertical ad network on mobile, which was possible at that time. And you know, think about the evolution and how long it took off on mobile, and how frightening this is for an organization. Yeah? Because you don't know about your future, but you know that the blue line is going down, and the yellow line is not only going up, right? So that was the first big pivot. The second big pivot was really about listening to our clients, understanding what their problems are, and building a solution. This was probably the first time we really did something innovative. We basically, 2 years ago, looked at the ecosystem and saw that all app developers integrated between 5 to 15 different ad networks, maintained their SDKs, built yield optimization algorithms which weren't optimal, and essentially had no ways to change these builds on the fly. Which doesn't make sense because there's thousands of app developers, millions of app developers, which essentially have to do that again and again and again. So it's a perfect problem to be solved as a service. So we started to build out a mobile supply-side platform, which I want to show you what happened when we introduced some of the products. So we launched a mediation tool in Q3 2013, and since then the traffic is growing really, really rapidly. We're seeing a strong adoption from direct publishers, especially in the freemium vertical, which we really like and which is very different to other verticals. And so that's why we call us today a specialized supply-side platform. The next evolution of what we do is essentially becoming full stack. And what we mean with that is cover all ad formats which are out there. So banner ads, native ads. Today we don't cover these, which is very surprising to some advertising companies. But obviously there's a big market for that. So expanding in ad formats, tapping into all programmatic inventory, which we do to a certain extent, but not very extreme. You saw the first slide, 68% X growth in programmatic advertising on mobile, but from a very small scale. So there's a huge opportunity, and the world will turn programmatic on mobile. Today it's not, especially not on video advertising, which today is our biggest format. And we're investing heavily into developer tools to make it easier for developers to change advertising monetization strategies on the fly. So when to show what user, what ad, from what source of advertisement, as we're the gateway technology and infrastructure layer between the publisher and the whole ad ecosystem. So what were our lessons learned? The ecosystem, the app developer ecosystem changed rapidly. Within 5 years, you saw Facebook and Zynga, Playfish rising on the back of Facebook, and to a certain extent going down, everything being disrupted by the mobile OSs and smartphones. The value chain, we already talked about this, is changing dramatically on mobile. It has been changed on web already. It's a complete programmatic advertising ecosystem. On mobile, this is yet to become, but it's basically happening in 2 to 3 years instead of 3 to 6 years. And product, I mean, I think the biggest thing we learned is that you cannot make decisions about your product too late, right? You have to already know what's happening in 1 to 2 to 3 years to start building now, because otherwise you're too late. Because usually tech needs time to be built. And last but not least, culture. We've been constantly changing, and change is usually nothing an organization necessarily likes, but at the same time in a tech company, people are all you have, right? It's all about your talent. It's about making sure you empower your talent as much as possible and giving them a platform where they can grow and prosper. And to create a culture which embraces change and sees it as an opportunity rather than a threat is something we learned also sometimes even the hard way. With that, thank you very much. And yeah.